Hello, I'm Clark Crawford, and welcome back to the latest edition of Clark Crawford Sports. We're talking Astros baseball, of course, on the Clark Crawford channel of here on YouTube. And we're going to be grading the Astros, yes, talking Astros baseball. The Astros first half of the season, it is first half report cards, as all of us remember in school. And we're going to be grading the team grade and all of the players. Yes, there's a bunch of them because of a ton of injuries this year who have entered a game, and we are going to get started right away with that. First, we start with Brian Abreu, who, in my book, he will receive the letter grade of a C plus so far for his performance this year. As I pull up his numbers, now Brian Abreu's pitched 46 and a third innings pitched. He has a 3.11 ERA, entered 46 games, given up 39 hits. But here's the alarming stat to me. He's given up the 39 hits and 25 walks. And that brings his whip to 1.38, which is not good for a relief pitcher or a starter. So grading Brian Abreu's season with his 21 holds and one save, it feels like just about every outing, even though it's not every outing, he's had traffic on the bases. So Brian Abreu, so far for the year, I'm going to give him a C plus for his grade to kick off my grading system here on Clark Crawford Sports. That moves us to next on my list is going to be Spencer Arrighetti. Now, Arrighetti, as we all know, is a rookie. And well, Arrighetti, he's had his ups and downs. It seems like he was really figuring things out for a minute there. The great start against Colorado, only about 3 starts back. But Arrighetti on the season in 17 starts, he has a 4-7 record with a 5.63 ERA and 80 innings pitched, 84 hits, 51 runs, 50 earns, and also 44 walks. His whip is 1.6, which is a lot higher than Brian Abreu's. So I will give Spencer Arrighetti because he was also thrown into the fire as well, as he wasn't expected to needed to help the Astros as soon as he was, but because of all the injuries. So I'll give Spencer Arrighetti, kind of happened to be thrown in the fire so far, as you saw his stats there. I'll give him a C plus along with Brian Abreu. So next up on the list, and he receives a grade of an A plus, and we are going to move right along and down to Ronel Blanco. Ronel Blanco gets an A plus. He made the starting rotation out of the spring training. And, well, he should have been an all-star. It's a crime that he wasn't. It is what it is. It's past us now. Astros want to win World Series, not the most all-star appearances in the MLB, though it would have been nice to have him and give him the recognition he deserves. 9-4, a 2.56 ERA, and 18 games started, 1 complete game, which was, of course, the no-hitter. 1 shutout was the no-hitter. And in 109 innings pitched, 64 hits, and he's been phenomenal. 100 strikeouts even on the year, 42 walks. So the whip for him is 0.97. That is really good for a starting pitcher or a reliever. So Ronel Blanco, he's been phenomenal, and he is probably, as you could guess, going to be one of the few A-letter grades that any pitcher or position player receives in my grading system in this video. That moves us right along to another rookie pitcher, Bloss. Now, Jake Bloss, I'm going to give him an NA of a grade, so, not a grade, but he deserves some recognition. Now, he gets an NA because, well, Jake Bloss only pitched in 2 games. But the reason I'm going to talk about Jake Bloss and unlike some other pitchers who are going to receive NAs in my grading system later on in this video, I'll explain that later on. I'm going to talk about Jake Bloss because they're going to need him at least coming out of the All-Star break, and we don't know exactly how many more starts Jake Bloss is going to make, but I expect he'll make definitely 1 more coming out of the All-Star break after the Seattle series because Luis Garcia and Justin Verlander, who I'll talk about later on, are not ready to come back, and then, of course, the other injuries as well. So Jake Bloss, I presume he'll make at least 2 more starts, if not 3, 4, 5. We don't know exactly. I expect him to trade for a starter at the deadline, but does that mean Jake Bloss is the odd man out? Maybe he'll go to the bullpen. I presume he'd probably go to AAA, but we don't know yet. So as of right now, Jake Bloss, he gets an NA, but at the end of the season, depending on how many more outings he pitches, say he pitches 4 or 5 more, I can have a real grade for Jake Bloss, but give him some credit. He's given up 4 runs in 7 2/3. He's done okay so far. He was a 3rd-round pick last year to already make the major leagues. Now, regardless of the timing and the injuries and everything, but Jake Bloss deserves his credit. He made it up to the major leagues, something most of us fans can't say, and so, or really all of us. So, Jake Bloss, a nice job. Hopefully, he can have some success in the second half of the year. Next up on the grading list, Hunter Brown. Now, Hunter Brown, for his season work so far, I'm going to give Hunter Brown a B. And Hunter Brown, well, if it weren't for his horrific, he is the 5th pitcher I'm talking about, his horrific April, where in early May, where he had nearly a 9 ERA, well, he'd easily receive an A like Ronel Blanco and maybe 1 or 2 other people in this video. But Hunter Brown, nonetheless, he's 7-6, a 4.39 ERA. He's had 10 consecutive starts of at least 6 innings pitched. That's been a bullpen saver because this bullpen is taxed. And thankfully, there's an all-star break, because if not, some of these guys' arms might fall off, like Josh Hader, Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley, even Taylor Scott to an extent. So some of these guys' arms might start to fall off, a lot of appearances logged and things like that. But Hunter Brown's starting to give them some real length, 98 in the 3rd innings pitched. And on the season, he has 105 strikeouts, 19 games pitched, 18 started. He had that 1 game out of the bullpen, and then it was inserted right back into the rotation, rightfully so. Hunter Brown's been good, and well, hopefully he can have and like his last 10 outings, most of them have been phenomenal. Hopefully he can continue that in 8 innings, because the Astros certainly need it. So Hunter Brown deserves the grade of a B by the math done by me. That brings us next to a name that is actually at AAA Sugarland right now. So he's going to receive a grade of an NA like Jake Bloss, and that's going to be Dylan Coleman. Now, the Astros acquired him from the Royals in the offseason, and unfortunately, he only pitched 1 game for the Astros and then was optioned to AAA. It was one of those moves you needed a fresh arm, and Dylan Coleman was not sharp in that 1 outing. He gave up a walk. Luckily, he didn't give up any runs for his sake, but Dylan Coleman has not worked out their acquisition. There's still some hopes for him within the system, but as of right now, he's not pitching well in AAA. So Dylan Coleman, for his Astros sake, and because we're talking Astros, not Space Cowboys, portion of the video, he receives an NA for his grade. Just a name to mention and to keep out for. Maybe he gets another call-up, maybe he doesn't, but we'll keep tabs on that later on. And that brings us to another guy who is currently with the Space Cowboys. You'll probably recognize his name because he's been up for a little bit, and that's going to be Luis Contreras. Yes, you probably remember his blow-up outing against the Twins. The Astros nearly lost that game when they had a 13-5 lead. It was 13-12. Josh Hader had to come in and save the game, even though he gave up the grand slam to Carlos Correa. Luis Contreras was good for his first few outings, and then obviously the blow-up one where he gave up all 6 of those runs, where he belongs in AAA for the time being. He's kind of like Dylan Coleman. Maybe you'll see him again later this season, as the bullpen's been a roller coaster of switching guys in and out from AAA, DFA, whatever it is. A couple guys claimed off of waivers, pitching a game or 2, and then they're gone. So maybe you see him, maybe you don't. But Luis Contreras, I will give the letter. Actually, I give him the letter grade of C-. He appeared in enough games, more than Dylan Coleman, and we're going to give Luis Contreras the letter grade of a C-. I apologize. But anyway, so we move to Sean Dubin. Sean Dubin is a semi-converted starter at the moment, and I'm going to give Sean Dubin the letter grade of a C+. Sean Dubin he's had a couple of pretty good moments and a couple of moments where you're scratching your head going, what the heck is he doing in the major leagues? He pitched in 3 games last year with the 7 ERA. He's appeared in 19 games. Of course, the 2 starts. He has a save this year, but a 5.23 ERA, 32 strikeouts in 31 innings. So that's a little bit of something, not necessarily great, a little bit of something, but 20 runs in 18 innings. 20 runs and 18 earned in 31 innings, a little shaky. So Sean Dubin 21 on the year, and I give Sean Dubin a letter grade of C+. he stepped in a couple of times recently and made some desperation starts. You'd like to see him get a little more length. So it's kind of a what are they going to do with Sean Dubin in the second half of the year? We will find out. I don't know if he's still going to be in the rotation, kind of fill in, but it gives you kind of another long relief option of if you need an extra inning guy to give you some length, kind of like in the 2022 playoffs with Luis Garcia, a starter in the bullpen. Sean Dubin could probably give you 3 innings if you really needed it in a tight spot. So Sean Dubin's had, like I said, a couple of nice moments, but for the most part, he deserves the letter grade of a C+. Next up is a injured pitcher, and that's JP France. And unfortunately for JP France, he is going to receive a letter grade from me of an F this year. He appeared in 5 games, 5 starts, was 0-3, a 7.46 ERA, and 25 and a third innings pitched. He got rocked several times, and unfortunately for JP, like I said, he's going to get an F for me on the season. He wasn't very good, and of course, he had his season-ending surgery, and we're not going to hear from JP France till 2025, and who knows if we're ever going to see the JP France from 2023, where he had a 3.83 ERA, 11-6, and he was one of the saviors of the 2023 season. We'll see what happens with JP, but best of luck in his recovery from his injury and hope to see him in 2025 making solid contributions, hopefully close to the same guy we got in 2023 as a rookie. Next up is the $95 million man. And of course, all of you know him by the name of Josh Hader. And Josh Hader is, like Brian Abreu, is going to receive the letter grade of a C from me and a C+ for Josh Hader. He's 3-5 with the 3.86 ERA in 42 appearances in the 96 games the Astros have played, 42 innings, 30 hits, 19 runs, 18 of them earned. He gave up only a total of 11 runs and 8 earned last year. Josh Hader's just kind of been okay. I mean, nothing to write home about. I mean, he's given up 8 home runs, which is as many as he gave up in 2022. Way more than he almost triple what he gave up, one less than triple what he gave up last year. He was a rock star for the Padres, and he hasn't been the same guy so far this year. So Josh Hader, the $95 million man, yeah, I'm going to criticize you a little bit and critique you a little harder. You receive a C+, and maybe even I should bump that down to a C or a C-. But because I think Josh Hader will have a good second half of the year, I'm going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and give him a C+. Hopefully you can get that fastball slider combo working and getting back to striking out a good amount of hitters. Though to his credit, he does have 18 and 19 saves, so that's why he receives a letter grade of a C+ from me. Next up, pitching-wise, we go to Nick Hernandez, who also receives an NA. He was acquired from the Padres a little over a month and a half ago, roughly. And, well, like I was saying, if anyone follows me on Twitter, at Clark Crawford Sports, you're welcome to do so. Well, like I was thinking, Nick Hernandez would be potentially a solid pickup, not more than just a depth piece. And, well, that's really all he is at this point. There's a reason the Padres gave up on him. And, well, he pitched in 3 games, 6 innings, 6 runs, and 8 hits, 7 strikeouts, which is good. But he had a 9 ERA, and he's just like Dylan Coleman and Luis Contreras. Maybe not. You see them the rest of the year, and we'll just kind of find out if he gets in there a call-up. But if they make a couple moves at the deadline, he may be one of the odd men out for the rest of the season. So an NA grade for Nick Hernandez, yet another one. It's going to kind of be a theme with some of these pitchers coming up later on. And that moves us to a B- grade of the next pitcher. And the next pitcher on the list is Christian Javier. Unfortunately, he has had Tommy John surgery and is out for the year. They could desperately use his rock-solid arm from the 2022 postseason, of course, involved in that no-hitter. But unfortunately, Christian Javier's 2024 and probably at least half of the 2025 season is history. He went 3-1 this year with the 3.89 ERA, 7 games started, 34 2/3 innings pitched, And that's about it. 27 strikeouts. His strikeout numbers were down. That was definitely concerning to me. Obviously, we didn't know he'd have Tommy John, though it went from neck discomfort to Tommy John. He had several injuries this year. Javier was solid. I wouldn't say he was outstanding, 3.89 ERA. So I'm going to give Javier Oh man, I'm going to give Javier a B minus, as I said. Unfortunately, he's not able to contribute because the Astros really need some starting pitching right now. And well, that's a wrap for Javier's season. And hope to see him probably July or August sometime in 2025. Hopefully, he can recover well from Tommy John. The next pitcher on the list who receives a grade of a B, and that's going to be left-handed reliever Brian King. Brian King is a rookie from McNeese State, where he went to college. He's 1-0 with the 2.16 ERA in 8 games, 8 1/3 innings pitched, 2 runs given up. And, well, he's been pretty good for the Astros, and I hope he's a mainstay for the rest of the year, though it's possible he could get sent back to AAA Sugarland. But Brian King deserves his credit. He's pitched in a couple of big moments, and, well, he's done a nice job. So Brian King, another lefty option out of the pen. It's funny, the Astros have 2 lefties out of the pen the year after Dusty Baker was basically begging for left-handed pitchers during some of his tenure as the Astros manager, and now they found Brian King and, of course, signed Josh Hader. Just a little funny note. But Brian King deserves some credit. He's pitched well, and he may get a couple more leverage opportunities as he had one on Sunday coming into the All-Star break. He walked a couple batters, but then slammed the door with a big strikeout to end his outing. He was not part of the reason the Astros lost to the Rangers 4-2 on Sunday. He did his job. Some other guys didn't. Next on the list, another relief pitcher, and that's going to be Seth Martinez. Seth Martinez is another one of these saviors out of this bullpen. Brian King to a lesser extent, but definitely Seth Martinez. I have Seth Martinez pegged as the second best Astros relief pitcher so far this year. He's 3-2 with the 2.42 ERA, 37 games, 44 2/3 innings pitched, with 14 runs, 12 of them earned. And, well, he's one of the saviors of this bullpen, a 107 whip. Him and a guy we're going to talk about later, Taylor Scott, are the saviors because where the heck would the Astros be without those 2 guys this year? Really just seen as they're going to probably spend time in the majors and AAA Sugarland. Well, no. If those guys had not been selected in this bullpen, the Astros definitely would not be entering the second half of the year with a 50-46 record, only 1 game back in the AL West behind the division-leading Seattle Mariners. So give Seth Martinez his flowers, a tip of the cap to a job well done. Rest up that arm because we're probably going to need another 15 to 20 appearances out of you in the second half of the year. Hopefully his arm's going to be well rested, and Seth continues to pitch well for this team, the side-armed right-hander. And, well, like I said, he deserves a lot of credit. He's pitched extremely well so far this year out of the Astros bullpen, and it's been much needed. Next up, with the letter grade of an F, because his performance and like his contract and his ERA is inflated, and I mean inflated, and that's going to be probably your second favorite Astro, Rafael Montero, is $11.5 million. I mean, some people are clamoring for him to be DFA'd, but I don't see it happening. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Nonetheless, Rafael Montero gave up the 2-run homer on Sunday. He's not the only reason the Astros lost, but it certainly did not help. He's 1-2 with the 4.84 ERA, 35 1/3 innings pitched. He's got a 139 whip, which isn't as bad as some of the pitchers on the team so far this year, but it certainly hasn't helped. Rafael Montero, it was a bad contract. You can blame it, but you know what? He's going to have to pitch. As long as they continue to keep Rafael Montero on the roster, he's going to pitch from time to time. And even when he pitched on Sunday, he hadn't pitched in nearly a week. So it's not like the Astros are using Rafael Montero all the time. It's just don't use him in leverage situations. Let him eat up an inning or 2 here and there once a week, and that's about it. You're not going to have 8 All-Stars or 9 All-Stars in the case of the Astros. We're messing with the 4-man rotation and Sean Dubin as kind of a reliever/starter. You're not going to have 8 or 9 All-Stars coming out of your bullpen all the time. every team has bullpen issues to an extent, and Rafael Montero, unfortunately, is one of the Astros' biggest snake bites this year. Is the next pitcher I'm going to talk about, and that's going to be another left-hander, and that is Parker Mushinski. Mushinski pitched in 10 games earlier this year, 11 innings pitched. Boy, when I saw those, when I was doing my research for this video, I was going, did Mushinski really last that long? It felt like he had a cup of tea and he was gone after 2 or 3 outings, but Mushinski's pitched in 11 innings so far this year. He gave up 10 runs and 8 earned. There's a reason he's in Sugar Land. He's putting up decent numbers there, but a 6.55 ERA got him sent back and a 1.45 whip. Mushinski, yeah, you can argue he's an NA / maybe even an F so far this year. I gave him an NA because really he was there during that time of the season. A lot of us were on the fence of like jumping ship for the year. And well, he's back in Sugarland where he should be. And maybe you see him later this year, maybe you don't. But I would lean towards he will not make another appearance unless things really go wrong the rest of the season. Next pitcher who also gets an NA, he was a recent add to the roster, and now he, like many others, are back in Sugarland, and that's Caleb Bourt. He pitched in 2 games, 3 innings, struck out 6 batters, and that's about it. He did not give up a hit or a walk, and, well, we don't know too much about him. He previously pitched in a couple short stints for the Red Sox, and, well, he's another one of those guys. We're not sure if we're going to see him the rest of the year, but if we do, good for him. If we don't, oh well, that probably means we made a move at the deadline or got some other pitchers hopefully healthy, knock on wood, of course. And so, Caleb Bourt, thanks for your 3 innings. If you come back later in the year, I hope you continue to pitch well as you did in those 3 innings, but it kind of is what it is. The bullpen's been a roller coaster, a shuffle, picking up a couple guys off waivers, then they're gone. It's just been a mess. Next up on the list, who I'm giving the grade of a B-, a lot mostly due to his recent performance, and some of you are probably going to disagree with this letter grade, but you know what? I don't care. It's my video, and that's Ryan Presley. He gets a B-. He has had 12 straight outings where he hasn't given up a run. And, well, Ryan Presley, what have you done for me lately? Well, that's why he has jumped up ahead of, like, Brian Abreu and Josh Hader on my list. 1-3 with the 3.68 ERA and 39 games. He has 15 holds and 2 saves, even though he's 2 of 7 on saves. This season, in 36 2/3 innings pitched, he has 42 strikeouts. Even his strikeout numbers are a little bit down, at least in my opinion. And while Ryan Presley, it's one of those, what have you done for me lately? And while Ryan Presley's been good as of late, so I bumped up his letter grade of what I was definitely going to give him a couple weeks ago, and he's starting to show out, and I think he's really found his rhythm so far this year. He's got his fastball slider combo working, and the Astros are definitely going to need that Ryan Presley from the last couple of weeks to show up in the second half of the year with 66 games remaining. They need that dominant Ryan Presley to win the division and maybe make it somewhere in the postseason as well. I mean, that goes without saying. Next up has been the best pitcher out of the bullpen this year, and really the second best Astro pitcher this year, right behind Ronald Blanco and right up there with Hunter Brown, even though he's ahead of Hunter Brown, and that is Taylor Scott. 6-3, a 1.36 ERA. He's vying, if he continues to pitch well and has a bunch of scoreless outings in the second half of the year, he's vying for Ryan Stanek's season Astros ERA record. He's creeping up on it. He's pitched 41 games, 46 1/3 innings pitched, 11 runs, only 7 of them earned, 43 strikeouts, and a 101 whip. Where would the Astros be without the South African Taylor Scott? Nobody knew who he was, even in spring training. Nobody wanted to interview him. None of the media, nobody. And this guy's been the staple of the bullpen, easily your best bullpen pitcher. And man, oh man, like I've said, where the heck would they be without him? Taylor Scott, thank you for your service. And please, please, please continue to pitch well. The Astros are going to need a lot more of it to overtake the Mariners and then also stay there. If they do overtake the Mariners, I believe they will, but I mean, it's possible they don't. So you have to prepare for that as well. They're going to need a rock solid lockdown reliever in Taylor Scott the rest of the way. So hats off to Taylor Scott for one heck of a year. Just to Framber Valdez, and even though I mention it all the time, and I mean all the time, if you've seen any of my videos where Framber is about to pitch in the next series or he just pitched, it's a roller coaster ride with Framber Valdez. Which one are you going to get, good Framber or bad Framber? I mention it all the time. And, well, I'm going to give him a B- so far in the year because it's roller coaster, up and down, up and down. 8-5 with the 3.66 ERA, 16 games started, 1 complete game, 98 and a third innings pitched, 82 strikeouts, and a 128 whip. It's good Fromber, bad Fromber, 94 hits and 32 walks. So his whip is higher than you want it to be. You want it right around that 1 or under 1 mark, but nonetheless, Fromber, I think he'll have a much better second half than he did last year post All-Star break because he was an All-Star last year, and then that's when he fell off a cliff. He's not going to pitch nearly as many innings as he did because there's only 66 games left, so about 10, 11-ish starts probably left for Fromber this year. He'd have to go 9 innings per start, 10 times 9, with his 201 and 198 innings in the last 2 seasons. Probably unlikely that happens. So Fromber, he's still giving you good contributions, and we hope to get more good Fromber in the second half of the year. That brings us to the last healthy pitcher of this video so far. I'm going to talk about some other pitchers as well. And, well, he's not healthy right now, but we hope he's going to be healthy. And I mean healthy as in he's actually pitched this year. And that's going to be Justin Verlander, who receives a letter grade of a C-. And Justin Verlander, you got to remember, I'm not going to give him an F, but a C-, maybe even a C, C+, right around that range. He's made 10 starts. He's 3-2 with the 3.95 ERA. So really, he gets about a C to a C+ because he's 41, 57 innings, but he doesn't get a B because, well, he's been hurt twice so far this year, and the Astros desperately needed him, and he's still shown some flashes of being an ace, but once again, he's 41 years old. He's got 51 strikeouts on the year, and as we all know, he is vying for 300 wins in his career, and he only has 260. I'm still a firm believer he gets there, and some of those later years might be ugly to really rise his career ERA like closer to that 4 mark. But nonetheless, Justin Verlander, he deserves his credit, throughout his career. But this year, he's going to get about a C, C+, C-, right around that C range, wherever you want to put him. Just to a few pitchers who have made some appearances this season, and I'll let you also know where they are. That is going to be Alex Spees. He was a right-handed pitcher, pitched a game for the Astros, got DFA'd, and now he is with the Red Sox AAA team. Next up is Blair Henley, who pitched the one debacle of a game we all remember. The Astros somehow won that game 10-5 after Blair Henley, gave up 5 runs and only got 1 out. And, the rest is history. He got DFA'd, and now he is pitching at AAA Sugarland because nobody claimed him. Next up on that list of pitchers who pitched a little bit, Brandon Bielak. Unfortunately, he was kind of a fan favorite. A lot of guys liked him, a nice reliever for the Astros the last 3 to 4 years. Well, he got DFA'd and traded to the A's, where he's currently at AAA. Then next up is Joe Kunal. He pitched a couple of games, got DFA'd, and traded to the Blue Jays for cash. Wander Suero fits that same boat and fits that same mold of pitchers. He's currently at AAA Sugarland. Miguel Diaz pitched 1 game for the Astros, currently is with the AAA affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. And then Jose Urquidy did not pitch in 2024, out for the season with Tommy John. He was 1 rehab start away from rejoining the Astros. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And, it is what it is at this point. Hopefully we see Jose Urquidy by midseason next year, though if I had to put money on it, I think Jose Urquidy has thrown his last pitch as a Houston Astro. 4 pitchers that the Astros are kind of hoping they're going to come back. We don't have any official news that they're guaranteed to come back, but some second-half hopeful pitchers, and those are going to be Lance McCullers, Luis Garcia, Pin Murphy, and Kendall Graveman. Maybe they can make some second half contributions towards the August or September months. But as of right now, like I have them listed here, and I'll show my screen here in a minute, they are second half hopeful pitchers. And well, that's all I can say. They're second half hopefuls, and that's about it. That's all they really are to this point. But nonetheless, some recognition is needed because they might make some contributions in the second half of the year, and they need to be mentioned just in case. My list, if you want to look at it, take a screenshot. I'm going to leave it up for a couple seconds. Here's the bottom of the list with your second half hopefuls. You can pause the video, do whatever of the team. And first up is Victor Caratini. We're going to go in alphabetical order. And Victor Caratini receives the grade of a B. The Astros catching position has been pretty solid this year for the most part. As we pull up Victor Caratini, and Victor Caratini in 39 games, unfortunately, he's on the IL right now. I believe he should come back within the next 2 weeks. I think he's the closest out of him, Verlander, and Kyle Tucker, out of the guys who are kind of close to coming back. And you can even maybe throw Luis Garcia into that room or that book of people or boat of people who might be coming back soon. Victor Caratini, 248 average, a 287 on base percentage. You'd like to see that on base at least over 300, if not around that 320 mark, which he had a 327 last year with Milwaukee. So that would be my only knock on Caratini, though he has a couple of walk-off hits. So he's been pretty good. He's been a solid defensive catcher, and the 4 homers and 17 RBIs. He's made, like I said, some nice contributions. And next up, after Victor Caratini, is the Astros starting catcher, Yainer Diaz, who receives a grade of a B along with Victor Caratini. Now, Diaz, it's his first full season catching and his first full season as kind of the everyday guy. He's almost has as many at-bats as he did last year. 355 last year, 328 so far this year. He'll surpass the amount of games played, 104 last year and 85 this year, as you can see up on the screen right now. He'll definitely pass the RBI total he had. He already has more walks than he did last year, 11 and 13 walks this year. The same exact on base percentage. I find that interesting. The average is right on par. The only thing that's down with Yainer Diaz is he has more hits. He's going to have more hits and everything. Probably surpasses 22 doubles from last year. He has 16. The only thing that's down is the homers, which he had 23 last year, 7 this year. That'd be my only knock on. He needs to draw a few more walks. And then also, I'd love to see the long ball return just a little bit. He doesn't necessarily have to be a 20, 25 homer guy, but just be a little more steady of a power source, 15 to 20, driving 75, 80 runs a year. That's the kind of guy I think Victor Caratini can be. Doesn't necessarily have to provide the home runs, but if he can be a legit threat to drive in 70, anywhere from 70 to 85 runs towards the probably 5 or 6 hole of the lineup in a little bit deeper of a lineup, hopefully they add a bat at the deadline. That'd be a phenomenal job, considering I think he's only going to get better. He needs to work on the power just a little bit, but overall a solid season and a B letter grade from Yainer Diaz. He could work on his catching a little bit more and whatnot, but it's his first full season. Let's see how he progresses with that. I'm not going to knock on him too much. Obviously, I'd like to see a little bit more. Like I said, it's his first full season, and he should have gotten more opportunities to catch last year to help him progress this year. So that's on Dusty Baker. I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're going to move on to Cesar Salazar, who's made some pretty good contributions as of late, and he receives a letter grade just under Caratini and Yainer Diaz, and Cesar Salazar receives a B minus. He's played a little less, but in limited time, he has got 7 hits and 22 at bats for a 318 average, a 393 on base percentage. Now let's relax a little. I don't think he's going to continue to have a 318 average the rest of the year. And who knows? He may be back in Sugarland. I don't know for sure when Victor Caratini returns, because he probably plays sparingly after that. I'm not really sure. But that's going to be one of the mysteries is, do the Astros carry 3 catchers when Victor Caratini comes back? Because you could DH Yainer Diaz and play one of the other 2 catchers, or Gosh, what they should do is play one of them at first base, but that's another topic for another day because Caratini and Diaz have a little experience at first base. That's what I would do. It's probably not going to happen, so I'm not going to waste my breath on it. Just a little thought. But Cesar Salazar nonetheless deserves a letter grade of a B minus. He's been good behind the plate, and he's brought a really good bat. As you can see his stats there in limited time, he's been pretty good. Now, next up is everyone's favorite Astro with the letter grade of an F this season. And yes, I know, I don't want to mention him, and I know y'all probably don't want to hear about it, but hey, he's your favorite Astro, and it's Jose Abreu. The Jose Abreu mention on the channel is back for one video and then one more at the very end of the season, potentially. I don't know if I'll bring him up or not, but Jose Abreu, his 124 average, 14 hits on the year, 2 homers, 7 RBIs. Yeah, he receives the letter grade of an F. I just thought I'd get some people who are still watching the video riled up a little. We're going to spend the least amount of time on him, and he receives the letter grade of an F. He was released on June 14th, and the Astros have been a heck of a team since then. Next up is with the letter grade, one of the rare A letter grades of this video, and that's going to be Jose Altuve, the 34-year-old still stud, receives the letter grade of an A, 93 games played, 118 hits, 14 homers, 44 RBIs, 306, still hitting over 300. His career average 307, so right on par with his career average, and a 354 on base percentage. And of course, his 815 slugging percentage. He's second on the team in that aspect for qualified hitters. Jose Altuve's been incredible. Hopefully, he can continue those numbers for 5 more years after this one because that's what he signed for. Jacob Amaya is next on the list. He was acquired from the Miami Marlins. He receives the letter grade of an NA. He got one at bat. He appeared in one game late in the game. Not much more to talk about, but he appeared in a game, so I'm going to mention him real quick. And that's pretty much all I got to say about him. He is in AAA Sugarland. Alex Bregman gets a C+ so far in the year. And the reason for that, his defense has been a little spotty. And of course, his offense is just never going to be what it was in the 2019 season where there were juice balls. And I don't know what Alex Bregman did that year, but I wish we could have gotten that guy in 21, 22, 23, and 24. 2020 season is a knockoff. I mean, it was COVID-shortened season, blah, blah, blah. Kind of throw it out the window. But that 41 homers, 112 RBIs, I mean, man, I wish we could get that guy back. But Alex Bregman is not that guy. He's got 12 homers, 47 RBIs on the season, a 256 average. And here's where the real knocker is and why Alex Bregman only gets a C+, and that is his 316 on base percentage. His average is down from his career numbers, 273, and it's only 256 this year. And his on base percentage is about right at 50 points down from his career numbers, 368 down to 316. That is alarming to me. This guy is not the same player right now. Only 12 home runs, not drawing nearly as many walks as he normally would. So Alex Bregman, you need to figure out in the second half of the year. You're lucky I even gave you a C+, but I think with his recent stretch since about mid-May, he's picked it up just enough to receive the letter grade of a C+, and I think his defense will get better as the season goes along. Gray Kessinger is next, as we're still in the infield mix, and he receives the letter grade of an F. Well, because I'm going to show you why. Gray Kessinger, I don't even know, just because of injuries and lack of depth. Gray Kessinger is with the Astros right now. And, well, he's appeared in 16 games, 15 at-bats, I believe only 2 starts. But Gray Kessinger scored 1 run. He struck out 5 times, and he has no hits in 15 at-bats. So, Gray Kessinger, you get an F, buddy, because 15 at-bats, you don't have a hit. I know you play sparingly, but come on, dude. Against one of these pitchers late in the game, like a team's 6th or 7th reliever, you haven't gotten a hit yet this year. I know you hardly play, but come on, dude. So Gray Kessinger deserves an F. It's kind of a sad reality. He's still on the team, but, I mean, the Astros did not stack up on depth in the offseason, and, well, Gray Kessinger is still on the team right now. I expect he's probably going to be in Sugarland with the recent Astros signing of Aledmus Diaz, who is likely going to take his place. Aledmus Diaz has not had a good 2023 or 2024 where he was with the Oakland A's. There's a reason he got released by them. And so it's not a great signing, but maybe it'll potentially turn into something. Pena is next, and he receives a letter grade of a B minus. Now, Jeremy Pena had one of the hottest starts, if not the hottest start to the season for any Astros hitter, maybe behind Kyle Tucker only. Just behind Kyle Tucker. He's got 99 hits on the year in 94 games. That's a positive sign. 7 homers, 41 RBIs. That power is still missing from Jeremy Pena, as we saw 22 home runs in his rookie season. But his 274 average is a positive sign. The knock I'm always going to have on Jeremy Pena is the on-base percentage, only 318. He needs to at least get that to a 340 or a 350 on-base percentage, a little more respectable. And where Jeremy Pena also needs to pick things up is the walk numbers. Only 17 walks. That's always going to be a concern for me. He walked 43 times last time. He's not quite on pace to have that many in 2024. So Jeremy Pena could potentially have a career high in RBIs. He only needs 22 more to match his career high from his rookie year. But Jeremy Pena, he's just going to have to pick things up. He had a great start to the year, kind of slowed down, and then, he's been solid since, but Jeremy Pena has been a little up, little down. It's like he's red hot or ice cold is kind of what it feels like. So Jeremy goes to the last infielder of the video, and that's going to be John Singleton. He receives the same grade as Jeremy Pena, a B minus. Singleton's been a little bit of a surprise this year. He definitely surprised me because at the beginning of the season, I was saying, why are we not DFAing this guy? And the only reason he's on the roster is because he makes the minimum, salary, $750,000, $800,000, roughly somewhere in there. And John Singleton's impressed a little bit. His defense has been pretty good. I'd give him about a 7 out of 10. Could have worked on it a little more. Pushing an 8 out of 10 is defense has been good, and his bat has definitely picked it up as of late, as he's one of the hottest hitters on the team the last couple of weeks since that road trip starting in New York. He's got a couple home runs recently, 7 homers and 23 RBIs on the season, a 242 average and a 335 on base percentage. So John Singleton, tip of the cap to you of he's kind of figured it out a little bit. The consistent playing time is definitely helping, but John Singleton, B minus, you've earned that grade. The question is, can he continue it? And not to knock on him or anything, but I would still upgrade the position at the trade deadline. Y'all can let me know what you think about that down below. But John Singleton, I would still upgrade the position and keep Singleton probably on the roster because he's probably earned it throughout the rest of the regular season. But I would still upgrade the position at the deadline. Let me know down below in the comments if you think the Astros need to upgrade first base or if they need to get a bat at the deadline. I'm a firm believer you need a bat at the deadline. To bring us to the outfielders of the video, and we start with Yordan Alvarez, who will receive a B+ here in my midseason grades. Now, Yordan Alvarez, you're probably wondering, well, why the heck does Yordan Alvarez not receive an A? Well, Yordan, he's had his moments, and I'm not saying he's been bad by all means. Don't get alarmed and jump down my throat. But Yordan, just a couple of little, nagging injuries that are bothering him a little bit right now. And Yordan also, he's a stud. And I can't quite give him an A because I need to see just a little bit more. And that's not a knock on Yordan Alvarez. Like I said, don't jump down my throat. But you need a little bit more. The 19 homers and 52 RBIs. My biggest thing is Yordan needs to be 100 RBI guy. So he's played in 91 games. He played in 114 last year. And if you look at his numbers, he's approaching some of those games played and everything. And this is why I only give him a B+, is he's, still got a 296 average and a 382 on base percentage. But last year, he's only 14 plus 9, 25 games away from last year. And he's 12 homers off the pace from last year, and he's also 45 RBIs off the pace from last year in just 25 games. He's not going to reach those numbers in just 25 games, more than likely. So that's why I only give Alvarez a B plus. I mean, his average is up there. His on base is really good, but Alvarez, he just needs to be a little bit more of a threat and start to produce a few more runs. And they really need him to be a 100 RBI guy. There's 66 games left, so it's definitely possible he reaches those numbers. But come on, Jordan, push for that 30 to 35 home runs, 100, 110 RBIs. You're going to need it out of Alvarez to reach first place and definitely win this division. This Trey Cabbage, as we start to wind down the video, and Trey Cabbage receives the letter grade of a C. Now, Trey Cabbage, he kind of had a hot start. He started with the Astros. He was 12 for 40 at one point, as I highlighted in one of my previous videos. At one point, he was hitting 340 at-bats. That's a decent sample size, not a big one, but he was producing pretty well. But since then, he now has 16 hits and 67 at-bats. So that's in his last 27 at-bats. He's only got 4 hits in his last 27 at-bats. He's kind of been a dud as of late, just like another name I'm going to mention here real soon. But Trey Cabbage, 239, 261. That's probably the kind of player he's going to be throughout most of his career. He might reach a 250 and close to a 300 on base percentage. But I don't expect Trey Cabbage to be some mammoth 30-homer guy like he was in 2023 in the minors. Do I think he could potentially produce some 10, 12-homer seasons? Yeah, but with the Astros, he's just not going to get consistent enough playing time, especially when Kyle Tucker returns. It's going to be interesting to see when Kyle Tucker and Victor Caratini return. At least one of the outfielders have to go, and it's probably going to be between Trey Cabbage and Chas McCormick. Which one gets sent down? Honestly, I would lean towards Chas and let Trey Cabbage stay, though I think the nod is more likely to go to Trey Cabbage goes down and Chas McCormick stays, but we'll see. Brings us to the Swiss Army knife of the Astros, and that's Mauricio Dubon, and I'm going to give him the letter grade of a B. Mauricio Dubon has been good. Now, the reason Dubon doesn't get an A, I know he's played a lot of positions this year, but it's because of his recent stretch. He has been in a slump as of late. He's got 3 homers and 30 RBIs. I'm ecstatic when Kyle Tucker comes back because Dubon can be used more as that Swiss Army knife, only playing like 3 days a week instead of like 7 that he's been playing, especially as of late, because of all, the injuries to Kyle Tucker, the struggles of Chas McCormick, and the injury to Victor Caratini has messed up a lot of the lineup flexibility and things like that. And so Mauricio Dubon, because of his recent funk, he does have 67 hits, a 278 average, and a 303 on base percentage, the 3 homers and 30 RBIs as I highlighted. But Dubon, he needs to draw some more walks. That's my biggest knock on him. Just like a lot of the Astros, they don't see enough pitches. He's only got 9 walks and 241 at-bats. That's pretty abysmal, realistically. So Dubon, just up your walks. I know he's not going to up them and they're going to skyrocket, but just be a little more patient at the plate and you'll find some pitches to hit and really raised out on base percentage. That's my only knock on Dubon. He's played a great defense this year at second, a couple times at short, a couple times at third, and then a lot in the outfield, and then, of course, the couple times at first base. So a really good season out of Mauricio Dubon as he receives the letter grade of a B. Next up is Cooper Hummel. I mean, Cooper Hummel gets an NA, but really, you can kind of argue he should get an F. He's really a AAA player, and the Astros brought him up as a desperation kind of. And Cooper Hummel, 6 games, 8 at-bats. He had no hits, 2 strikeouts. Nothing much to it. Cooper Hummel is not really a major league player. He did steal a base. How the heck that happened? I remember watching that game. I don't know. But Cooper Hummel, not a good MLB player. He's not going to provide much. I mean, he had 3 homers for Arizona in 2022, but Cooper Hummel, not really a major league player, kind of one of those 4A players that I've talked about before. If you follow me for a while now, I've talked about it in several videos. He's really a 4A player, too good for AAA, and another one of those that's not good enough for the major leagues. That brings us to the rookie, yes, the rookie that we all know and love, Joey Loperfido. And I'm going to give Joey Loperfido for his season performance so far a B minus. Joey Loperfido's made some pretty solid contributions so far. And let's go over his contributions. In 31 games, he's got 2 homers and 15 RBIs, a 273 average, and a 330 on base percentage, 11 runs scored, and 24 hits. So, like I said, Joey Loperfido's made solid contributions. I give him a B minus. He can be a little bit better, but I mean, what more do you need out of a rookie? A 330 on base percentage and 273. I'll take that any day of the week. I would just like to see his power numbers tick up just a little bit. Maybe hit 5 to 7 home runs in the final 66 games or so. And I think that would be a phenomenal rookie year when his playing time at times has been spotty. He played his first stint, then kind of got called up for whatever the heck happened with that. I know a lot of people hated that. And now he's back and playing at least 3 or 4 days a week. So hopefully he can get extended playing time and really show the Astros what he can do. And maybe he can be a starter in the outfielder or your 4th outfielder next year. But right now they kind of have a logjam because Mauricio Dubon's been good. So Joey Loperfido is kind of your 4/5 outfielder, depending on, well, right now he's your number 4 with Jake Myers, Jordan, and Dubon ahead of him. And then when Kyle Tucker comes back, he'll kind of be your 4/5 with Dubon being infield/outfield. So Joey Loperfido, a nice rookie year so far and a well-deserved B minus. Keep raking for the Astros and keep producing because they're going to need it down the stretch. And hopefully you can help us bring home ring number 3 in 2024. But first, you got to make the playoffs. That is going to bring us to Chaz McCormick next. And the Chaz Chompers have not been chomping too well. I know he spent some time on the IL this year like he did last year, but that helped him have a career year. Chaz McCormick is the last guy to receive an F in this video. And, well, Chaz McCormick, I'm sorry, his season's been a failure. There is no other way to put it. A 203 average, 264 on base percentage, 3 homers, 19 RBIs. I mean, Joey Loperfido in less games almost has more RBIs and almost the same amount of homers and a better average. So Chaz McCormick, he has been pretty much not demoted to Sugarland, but demoted to the end of the bench. And so Chaz, I don't know what happened to you, but you're even worse than 2021 and 2022, Chaz. I'm not going to go straight to the, well, is Chaz washed or anything like that? No, it could just be a bad season, but he's really down in the pecking order. And he, like I mentioned earlier in the video, if Kyle Tucker comes back, is it Chaz or is it Trey Cabbage who needs to get sent to the minor leagues? One of them will. And I think I would lean towards McCormick because, well, McCormick's season has been worse than Cabbage. I know he's had more at-bats than Cabbage, but right now, it's crazy to say, but I trust Trey Cabbage more than I do Chaz McCormick. So that's just an interesting thing to note. Chaz McCormick's been bad, and, well, there's not much more for me to say. He receives the letter grade of an F. And that brings us to the final 2 players of the video, and receiving a grade of a B minus is Jake Myers. He's played really good center field defense. He is outs above average or skyrocketing this year. And, well, Jake Myers receives a B minus. I would give him a B or a B plus, but his bat can just be a little too inconsistent. And I got to keep it real here because Jake Myers has been good this year, and in some aspects is having a career year. He's going to have a career high with 11 home runs sometime here soon. He has a career high in 40 RBIs, but just a little too inconsistent with the bat. I'd like to see his average above 250 and his on base higher than 312. But, Jake Myers is not going to be a all-star center fielder, type of guy. So Jake Myers receives a B minus. I think it's a fair grade. The Astros have stuck with them. And in the offseason, I was saying, man, just get rid of this guy. But you know what? It looks like they made the right move, at least for 2024. And a pretty good season for Jake Myers. Just bump that average just a tick up and bump that on base percentage a few more walks a tick up. And hell, you do that in the second half of the year, hit another 5 to 7 homers, and I'll definitely bump that up and keep playing the great defense you played all year, being the best defensive outfielder with Kyle Tucker being out for a while now. And I'll bump your grade up to a B plus by the end of the season. But we'll see. Jake's still got to keep earning it. He has earned his playing time, and he's going to play over 100 games this year. And last but not least, one of the Astros 3 All-Stars, Kyle Tucker, and his letter grade is going to be a B+ so far this year. I went back and forth on this one, but because of Kyle Tucker's availability, which is your best ability, I have to bump his grade down to a B+. It was going to be an A because he's only played 60 games so far. And unfortunately, he's had this lingering injury. I'm not going to get into it, but his 266 average, 395, which would be a career high in on-base percentage, 19 homers, 40 RBIs, still tied for the team lead in RBIs. And he was first for a long time. Still tied for the team lead in home runs with Jordan with 19. And for a long time, he led the team with 40 RBIs, and he was way out in front, well on his way to a 30 homers and 100 RBI season. Unfortunately, he's not going to get there, and he's probably not going to get to his 30 stolen bases like he had last year. Unfortunate for Tucker, but the most important thing is getting him healthy and hopefully continuing to push for the playoffs and everything. But Kyle Tucker gets a B+, and I'm wishing him a quicker recovery. I'm hoping the next week or so he can be back on a rehab stint as he finally resumed baseball activities in the last few days right before the All-Star break. I know he's continuing to recover. So hopefully in the next week and a half, he'll be on a rehab stint. And then within the next 2 to 2.5 weeks, I'm thinking if everything goes well, he could potentially be back with the Astros right at the trade deadline or just after, right around that August 1st date. So that is your recap of all of the Astros in their first half grades. As I'll share the screen, here's your outfielder grades down. You can always pause if you want to critique my grades or anything. Here are your infielder and catcher grades. If you want to pause, critique, and everything, I gave you a few seconds there. You can see all my grades are real on how I wanted to post them and everything. And that's going to do it for the latest edition of Clark Crawford Sports. Grading your Houston Astros, the last thing to do is give a team grade. And because of all the injuries, I'm going to give the Astros and Joe Espada a B- because of the injuries. And, well, they started 7-19, and they've clawed their way to a 50-46 record to end the unofficial first half. I know the first half went on to the 81 games because of 162, but the unofficial first half is 96 games in this year. They are 50-46, so the Astros team grade is going to be a B-, and I will have the next edition of Clark Crawford Sports on Friday, your preview of the Seattle Mariners series. And then, of course, I will do another video like this and give out your team MVP, end-of-season awards, everything like that on Clark Crawford Sports at the end of the season. We'll see how the Astros finish. What's your prediction? Drop it here down below in the comments. Do you think the Astros finish and win the AL West? Do you think they make a wild card spot? Do you think they miss the playoffs? Let me know down below. And then when I do my playoff special, let me know if you think they're going to win the World Series or not. Right now, I'm going to go with no because they've still got a long way to go to claw their way, maybe make a couple trades at the deadline. But as of right now, I'm more focused on just winning the division, getting in, and then I will do my playoff picks later on in a few months from now. So that'll do it for Clark Crawford Sports. Thank you all for watching.